My name is Arhantika. I am the founder and editor-in-chief of QUAKE Digital magazine. We've been running QUAKE for 3 years now, a bit more than 3 years. Our third birthday was in May, but we actually just celebrated our third birthday with the community in person for our first ever event last Monday, and it was amazing. I think the main highlight is kind of just being able to physically see the community that was built. I think it's very easy, and I said this in my speech as well, like at the event, I think it's very easy to get lost behind the screen and kind of like the extent and the reach of the content you're making and the people that you're connecting with and the people who are connecting with each other. So it was just, I think it was really special to be able to see all of that in person and speak to people that you kind of like clock and you match up and you're like, oh, you're the one who messaged me about this, and then you told me about this person and I met this person through you, and it's just like being able to see people like make those connections in real life was really exciting. It was also just really great, I think, to be surrounded by so many of my favorite artists and young creatives that we both platformed and that we haven't had the chance to platform yet, but just being able to give them a space and have other people slip their work and love it as much as I do was also very exciting. So yeah, it was just all around, I think it's an interesting question, the highlights, because I think about it and I look back and I'm like, everything was a highlight. I think it's been stressful from the sense of just like having to organize an event and doing it for the first time. Like, it was a massive learning experience for me and the people that helped me out. So I think it was definitely stressful in that way, but I would say it was a good kind of stress, and I don't know if that's contradictory, but I think there are two different kinds of stresses. I think there are stresses that just make you want to like not do anything, and there's stresses that like motivate you and push you, and I think it was that kind of stress where it was like, I really wanted it to happen, I was excited about it, the people around me were excited about it, and so even though I was stressed because I wanted it to be perfect, it was like, that really motivated me, and it was a good kind of stress. I didn't not think it would run this long. I think I've just always been quite open to kind of anything happening with QUAKE, and so I didn't have like massive expectations, but I think for the most part I felt very like, the whole time never once has it crossed my mind to just stop doing QUAKE. So hopefully that's my mindset for like quite a few years to come. So it was my final major project in my last year of uni, and it was supposed to be a physical magazine. It was supposed to be a print magazine. I'd started, laying it all out in InDesign and everything, and then COVID hit, and it was like, okay, what do I do now? Like, I just need to pivot. And I was like, okay, why not turn it into a digital magazine? Kind of went in between, like, do I want it to be like a digital version of a print magazine, or do I want it to be a website? And I really enjoyed the kind of flexibility that I think that a website had, and so I went with that. And it kind of turned out like better than I could have ever imagined, because you can access so many more people. It's been a journey. I think at the start I felt quite okay about doing things on my own, again, because I was still figuring everything out, and I was kind of figuring out what QUAKE really was to me and what the brand was. And then it got to a certain point where like you're not in uni anymore and real life comes and you're like, okay, well, I can't do this on my own. And QUAKE has been going this long, I think, outside of just me and like all the kind of creatives who give their time, voluntarily give their time to have fun and create things together. And definitely couldn't do it without all of those creatives. I mean, people just kind of come and go, but every single person who's come and gone has like contributed to QUAKE in like such a strong way, at least to me personally, because it really is like I said, like QUAKE is 3 years old. Like, I think sometimes that feels like a long time, but it's also really not. And it's just like, it really wouldn't be like shaped into what it is if it wasn't for all these different perspectives that are coming in and like, helping it grow. I do think I would have, by this point in time, would have liked to do more events, but it's a massive commitment. And I think when you're working, like I also have a 9-to-5, and so it's like not always easy to do that. And so I'm very proud and happy that we managed to do it at this 3-year mark. But I think I definitely would love to do sort of more just in person, kind of being able to connect with people like in a real way. Well, not to say that connecting online isn't in a real way, but in a reality way. But honestly, no. And I think people are always like maybe a little bit disappointed when they kind of ask me where I see QUAKE going and stuff, where my answer is usually just kind of like, don't know. Like, I'm very, like I said before, I'm very open to kind of seeing what happens and so much of it also revolves around like me figuring out my life and where I'm gonna be and what I'm gonna do, you know, things like that outside of it. Yeah, I think there's just room for it to go like in any direction, and I'm happy to kind of see where that goes. Essentially, I just would love to just continue it and grow it and just build the community. I think if I could summarize kind of your question into like one thing, it would just be like grow the community, and whatever way that happens, whether it's physically, whether it's more online, I just want to be able to have a community, whatever like direction QUAKE goes, or QUAKE be a community for other people in whatever direction it goes. But yeah, I think also maybe one of the things that QUAKE, or people don't fully understand about QUAKE, is that it really is like any kind of art. So no matter what type of creative you are, when we tend to just feature a lot of, you know, like musicians, photographers, because those are the people who tend to like put themselves out the most. But like we've done a feature on rug makers, for example. So it truly is like any kind of creative discipline. And so I think hopefully like the more people who know that, the less limited and constricted they'll feel. But yeah, you could be, you know, experimenting with something and you're just like, not really sure about this, but actually that would work perfectly for QUAKE. So yeah, and I think people also maybe feel like, yeah, that they need to have like this whole complete body of work, but it could be like, you know how comedians do stand-up shows where they just kind of test out their material? Like that's definitely an option as well, is that there's like really room in QUAKE to kind of do anything that you think will really help you progress in your like career path, your creative journey, your creative process, just the project you're doing at the time, the interest you have at the time. Yeah.